Hello and good afternoon or good morning or wherever you're joining us from across the country. I'm Chad Collette from LedU Partners and well, now officially BKD, but more on that in just a minute. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to join us today for another one of our CRM for oil and gas user group training sessions, where today we're going to focus on CRM navigation tips and account information, essentially how to become a master at navigating around Microsoft Dynamics 365 to allow you to find and access key information that can make you more productive and a lot more efficient. Now, on top of that, we're going to share information to help you kind of, drive some user adoption, improve your comfort levels and really get more out of your CRM. Now, before we get into the core of today's webinar, I want to remind everybody that you're going to be on listen only mode, so we ensure the best audio quality for everybody. If you have a question, we do encourage those. You can enter those in the question panel of your GoToWebinar control panel. And while we won't be taking live questions today, we'll make sure to follow up on any questions submitted within 24 hours. Now, in addition, we always record all these user group training webinars, and after the live sessions, we're going to post this webinar on our website under the resources tab. And we'll also email everyone a link to access and share this training with any others within your organization that'll benefit from it. Now, before I turn it over to Steve, I want to share some really exciting news. Now, I hope that you all got an email a couple weeks ago from our president, Doug Fussell, but with this kind of being our first live training webinar since that, I want to share, hopefully again, that LedU Partners has been acquired by a company called BKD, and we become part of their BKD Technologies team. Now, BKD is a national CPA and advisory firm, and we are just super excited about joining this amazing company. But really, from your end, you may be asking, how does this affect me? Bottom line, it does not. You're still going to reach out to our LedView support team the same way you always have, via email, via phone. Now, we're going to be sending you updated email addresses you can use, but the old ones are going to work for many months to come, so no worries there. You're still going to have Steve and his team of developers working on enhancing the CRM solution for oil and gas, and yes, you're going to continue to get Steve and I every other month or so doing these training webinars. It's a name change, but we're still the same folks here to support you. Now with that, I'm going to turn the controls over to Steve Raybrock, our senior CRM product consultant who leads the CRM for oil and gas solution team, and he knows this product better than anybody. And I know many of you know him as well. So Steve, thanks for joining us today.
Okay, thank you, Chad. Thanks for setting the stage here. So as you can all imagine, with joining another company, Chad and I got all new equipment the last few days, new email addresses, but he said our old ones still work. So I'm using like this new laptop for like the second day here. So I haven't been nervous doing any of these webinars for a long time, but today I got a little, I don't know, we're just gonna see how it goes. Hopefully things go well. All right, so what are we going to talk about today? As Chad mentioned, the main topic is some navigation tips. So I'm not going to go through every single thing with navigation, but I'm going to cover some things that you may not know, and some might be refreshers for others. And then that wasn't really going to fill up the whole webinar. So I thought, what could I add to that? And I thought, well, maybe I'll just focus on accounts. So where can you find information about an account? Obviously, you'll be using navigation to do that. But we're going to spend some time, pulling up one account and just really kind of beating it up, all the information that's available to you. And then we'll also spend a little bit of time running a couple reports, and I'll show you some reports that, again, it's all about accounts, so account information. So if you want to look at one account, right, usually you can look that up on the screen. If you want like a lot of data rolled up, summarized in a nice fancy report, that's what you run reports for. So again, that's the bulk of the agenda. I'm going to wrap up by just covering these topics that I always do, just give you a brief overview of kind of what enhancements, what our roadmap looks like coming up. When you guys all registered, some of you gave suggestions for future webinars, questions were submitted, biggest challenges were taken. So I just put all them on a couple slides. I'm just going to give you a review so you kind of know what other people are going through with the system. And then I'm just going to mention the training for new users. There's really just one thing that we do is we just push out a couple emails to point you to maybe some videos to watch to kind of get familiar with the system if you're a new user. But obviously you need more probably coaching and training internally. These are just to kind of give you a jump start. And then any other resources that are available to you, videos and documentation within CRM, I'll just, spend a short time on that. Then we turn it over to Chad to kind of wrap things up. All right, so what I wanted to do is, it's a little bit tricky when I got to flip from PowerPoint back to CRM. And so what I'm going to do is just kind of quickly let you know what I'm going to cover. And then, so I'm going to go through a couple slides, and then we're going to pretty much spend the rest of the time in CRM going through this list. And then, like I said, I'll flip back here, do a few more slides, and then turn it back to Chad. But I wanted to just make sure everybody knew there's a way for you to set up CRM so it starts right where you want it to. So if every time you logged into CRM, if you wanted to see a certain dashboard that was in CRM, you could have CRM start there. Or if you always wanted to, when you opened up CRM, to see your open opportunities, that view, you could be right there. So there's a way to kind of do half of that setup in what I'll call personalization settings. I'll show you that. And then hopefully most of you know, but if you don't, I'll show you how to make views or dashboards be like your default view or dashboard. So we'll cover that. I'm going to cover, how you can look at recently viewed items. You can pin things to a little favorite section in there. We'll talk about searching. There's a couple different ways to search for data in CRM. And then I wanted to spend some time on views, and views are just ways of looking at data, just like the raw list of data. And I just want to make sure you're comfortable with filters and sorting, and there's some new cool things out there for advanced filtering and changing columns if you want. All of the playing around that I'm going to show you is really temporary, right? So you want to find something, you want the screen to look a little bit different to do your analysis, but if you ever kind of back out of that and go back in, you're back to the defaults. If you did want to make, I'll kind of jump down here a little bit. If you did want to make your own views, you can do that. That's like a whole separate topic in itself. We've done a number of videos or webinars on that already, but if you want, there's a video in CRM, video 300 will explain to you how to create your own views. And then from an edit perspective, I want to make sure everybody's aware of the ability to view or change basically more than one record at a time. So that might save you some time if you've got to make the same change to maybe 10 records. Why, go through 10 records one at a time when you can do it in one shot? So there's a plus and a minus to that feature, right? You can easily make 10 changes. You can easily make 10 changes wrong, right? Instead of just doing one thing wrong. So you want to be careful when you're using that feature. I'm going to make sure on the account screen, we're going to go through all the tabs and make sure we get all the way down to the end. The related section, the related tab is kind of important. And here's where we're really focusing on the account now. We're going to talk about some of the dashboards that are included with an individual account. And then these are some reports that I think are kind of popular. I hear people calling and asking about them, or when I show folks, they seem to gravitate to these. So I'm going to run about 6 different reports, and I'm going to be using Dashboard 97 to run reports because those just get emailed to me. So I actually did this a couple hours ago, and I saved the documents off. They're just Excel spreadsheets, and I'll just show you how to run them, and then hopefully we'll have time and I'll show you what all of them look like. But you have a lot of power here to get information about your customers with these reports. And again, these reports typically don't show you like all the detail. These will let you, let's say, look at all of 2021's data and give me, let's say, one line per customer. How did we do for volume for 2021, for every customer? And so you're not going to see hundreds of thousands of transactions. You're just going to see some nice totals. All right, so with that being said, I'm going to flip over to CRM. All right, hopefully we're seeing CRM now. All right, so first thing I wanted to show you is proceed with caution on this, but if you're familiar with the navigation over on the left-hand side, you know most of you spend time in sales and in workplace. And in sales, that's where you have accounts, opportunities, contacts, leads. And in the workplace, that's where you see the dashboards and reports, and that's where videos are and a couple of other things. So you kind of got to have that foundation that there's a couple of main areas in CRM. Because if you go to this little gear here and you go to the personalization settings, this does take sometimes a little bit to load. So be patient when you're doing this if you feel like it. But I would recommend that you kind of stay away from playing around in here. I mean, you could cause like some bad things to happen if you mess up some of your personal settings. Those were all set up ahead of time. But on this general tab, you'll see these two questions. What is your default pane? And if you look at the drop down, it's kind of going to make sense because it matches what's down here. I could start out in the workplace and sales, probably would never start out in any of these other ones. So you could pick workplace, and then within the workplace, where do I want to start? Do I want to start, in the video library? Do I want to start in reports? Do I want to start in dashboards? So this list over here changes. Like if I would go over here and say I want to start in sales, then it's going to say, where do you want to start when you're in sales? Opportunities, accounts, contacts, leads, what have you. So again, you pick that. I'm not going to say this when I get done. So you pick where it starts, and then I'm going to show you in the case of either starting with a dashboard or starting with an entity like opportunities, you can pick then which view or which dashboard, depending on which of these you pick, you want to actually see when you go in there. So this gets you like 90% of the way there. Just a couple other settings, if anybody is going to go in here and do that, what you might want to do is just check a couple other values while you're in here. I mean, I just recommend that the record you see per page is 250. It saves you less going from page to page. That's like the most you can see. If you're going to use the advanced find feature, you may or may not know you're going to use it yet, but I just always make this say detailed, so I just have a little bit more power in the advanced find feature. And then the other thing that's kind of nice is just to make sure that you're in the correct time zone. If you're not, we probably would have gotten calls because you're like saving records and it would have, time stamped it with the wrong time. So most of this is probably set like this already. But these top two, these are the ones where you have control. So that's all you do is make that change, hit OK, which I'm not going to do right now because I don't want to mess with that. And then whenever you go into CRM moving forward, it's going to start out exactly where you told it to. So in the case of starting out, in that case, in opportunities, right now I'm in open opportunities, and that's my view right now. If I wanted to go to, let's say, my open opportunities, I could do that. And then once I'm happy with that's the view that I want, I can go down here and I can say, when I pick the views, I can say, make that my default view. So now I'm all set, right? I changed this these personalization setting to say I want to start in sales and opportunities. And then within here, I said, this is the view I want to see. So boom, every time I go into CRM, I'm right here looking at my opportunities. If you happen to be a person who wants to start out in dashboards, you went workplace and dashboards, it's kind of the same concept. What you can do is pick the dashboard that you want to see. So let's say you want it to always start out on this dashboard, and then you just say, set this one as my default. And then moving forward, if I had workplace and dashboards in my personalization settings, and I had this set as my default, every time I open up CRM, here's where I'm at. All right, so I spent a little bit of time on that. Hopefully that helps folks become just slightly more efficient to just boom, start where I want to start. All right, I'm going to go back to the sales area. It's a little bit easier to understand. CRM keeps track of all the places that you've been. So right now, I'm looking at my open opportunities. A minute ago, I was in a dashboard. So if I go to this recent section and hit the little drop down, it will give me a list of I think it's like the last 10 places I've been. So right now I'm looking at my open opportunities. A minute ago, I was looking at this dashboard about leads, and on and on and on. If you like something in your recently viewed, so let's say, you really like, this dashboard 2D, you can pin that. And then not only is it in your recently viewed, but then you can go to this pinned section, and it'll have a little library, if you will, a little list of the places that you use CRM most often. So if I don't want to navigate over to workplace and dashboards and go to a certain dashboard that I use all the time, maybe I don't necessarily want to start there, or even if I do start there, once I navigate away, I just want to, boom, be able to just get right somewhere. So you can pin views, you can pin dashboard, you can view individual records. So I use this Fairview Manufacturing quite a bit in my demonstrations. So I don't have to search for it or anything. I can just go right here, and boom, it went to sales, it went to accounts, and it opened up this account for me because I pinned it. So anyway, that's a little trick, and you can always minimize that list so you don't see it taking up all your real estate if you don't want to see it anymore. All right. So that's that. I'm just going to kind of navigate away from accounts for a minute. I'm just going to go to contacts, because the next thing I want to show you is searching. There's two different ways to really search. One, way up here on top, is what I call global search. And so here, if I type in, looks like I did this earlier, I typed in Fairview, and typing, it's trying to find stuff for me. It's just, so it's usually pretty good to, find stuff you want. But here you see it searching accounts, contacts, it found some opportunities, quotes. You can always say, show me more results, or you can even just hit enter. And what it'll do is it'll just kind of fatten out the list for you, right? Before that was just kind of a quick snapshot. If you find what you want, boom, you're good to go. But if you don't quite find it, you might need to look at it this way. So this is advanced find. It's kind of popular if you don't know exactly, boy, I'm searching for like a company name. I wonder if that's a lead, or is that in there as an account? Is it in the system at all? Maybe you want to use global search. Or maybe you just don't like going to a designated area, because the next thing I want to show you is searching within a view. So if I did want to find Fairview Manufacturing and I knew that was an account, right, I can always go to accounts, and then it's going to give me a list of accounts, and it's only going to search for Fairview as I type in over here in the search box. It's only going to search within this view, within this set of records. So if I was looking at a different view, and remember, you all know what views are hopefully by now, there's all different ways of looking at the data. Instead of looking at active accounts, I could maybe look at my active accounts. So there's all these different views. Here's my active accounts. Just remember, whatever view you're looking at, you're going to have potentially different accounts listed. It's only going to search within the list that you have here. So if I search for Fairview here, I just typed that in and hit enter, boom, it found that account. This is what I'm looking for, Fairview Manufacturing. So those are the two different ways searching I wanted to point out. Now we're going to spend a little bit of time talking about what you can do within a view. And I'm going to do this a couple different ways, just kind of quickly. So I'm actually going to kill this search I had. So this is just a quick overview. Most of you probably know this already, but within a view where you're looking at a lot of records, you have a lot of options. You can easily just click on a header. So here's like the account number column, and I can say I want to sort the list by account number. Right? So that's pretty simple. I can always go back to like account name, which I think it originally was, and I want to sort it this way. So you can just easily change the sort of the information you're looking at. You can also apply a filter to pretty much any column here. So let's just say I'm looking at all these accounts. Here I see state. Well, I wonder how many accounts we have in, I'll just pick Ohio. I wonder how many accounts we have in Ohio. Well, I could just say filter, and then I can make whatever rule I want. There's all kinds of options in here, but I'm going to say equals. It's an easy one. I'm just going to say Ohio. It's not case sensitive here. So it looks like we have 153 accounts in Ohio. I don't know why I'd ever want to do that, but I just want to give you an example of why I'd want to filter. And then if you click on it again, because it knows there's a filter, you can clear that filter. All right. So I just want to give you an overview of that. And for some of you with a small number of accounts or the list is very small, you probably won't use that very often. Some of you, though, have been asking me over the years to really analyze it. Maybe you don't want to run reports, but you want to analyze the order history data. And so think of this order history, depending on your security model, you might have access to all the order history in the system, everybody's order history, or you might just have access to the order history that's tied to your accounts. In either case, when you click on that, if you own some accounts or you have access to everybody, you could see potentially hundreds of thousands of records here. So I know this is just my demo library. It looks like I have over 5,000, but now that same logic applies. So when you get comfortable with the information that's in order history, and for those of you who don't know, that's basically every line item on an invoice. So things like, the date of the invoice, the invoice number or order ID, who the account was, like who the customer was, what product segment they purchased, what specific product they purchased. There's the product name, product ID. Again, this is just my test library. So then every other thing, the price, the cost, gross profit, revenue, volume. There's even a profit per unit. What department was this for? What product category was it for? So imagine you have access now to like millions of records and you're trying to find something out. So now maybe the sorting isn't so key right now, but the filtering is kind of important. So let's say I'm analyzing, like I want to analyze lubricants. So I would go over here to department and I'm going to filter on lubricants. I'm just clicking the boxes, nothing special here. So now I just narrowed down the list to lubricants. And oh, by the way, I know my product categories, how we group our products, and I only really care about our private label brand. So I'm just going to pick private label. So now I'm slowly shrinking this list down. And then here's where it gets a little bit tricky. I want to show you some of the advanced functions, but let's say I want to see what we sold in December of last year. So, all right, well, Steve, you said I could do filter. Let's filter. And wait a minute, what rule can I apply here? It's kind of tricky here if you look at all the options to just pick like a certain specific time period like December. So you could get creative. So I'm going to say on or after, and I guess I'll use the calendar here because we're pretty close to that. I'll just say on or after December 1st, 2021. But that's going to give me everything, even beyond that, all my 2022 data, which I really don't want, right? So you're seeing some 2022 data in here, but I only want it from December 1st to December 31st. Now, again, there's not very many records here, but and there's only a couple for December of 2021. But if you have lots and lots of records, right, it's not going to be that easy, right, to only have a couple. So when you want to get just a little bit more advanced with just a basic simple rule, you have this little filter button right here that when you hover over it, even tells you can do a little bit more advanced filtering. So this for some of you, it might be a little intimidating, but it's not super scary. It's just basically telling me what I've filtered so far. And it has all, it's kind of built this for me. So department equals lubricants, product category equals private. The order date is on or after 12/1/2021. Well, I can just go and kind of massage this thing that was built automatically. I can add a row. And so see how it gave me this blank row here. And now I can come up with like my own filter. And so if I click on this, it'll give me all the fields. And I'm going to pick order date. Now I'm going to cheat here and I'm going to say on or before. And here I can just say 12/31. So now if I scroll down and hit apply, I'm going to be able to use that extra little, advanced filtering. And now, boom, I have just what I want. I have my private label, lubricants, transactions for December of 2021, just what I want. Boy, kind of a cool way to massage the data to kind of find what you're looking for. Again, this is just looking at basically the raw data. It's not like a report. It's not summarizing anything for you. It's just giving you every record that you picked. The last thing I want to show you that you may or may not want to fart around with, I guess it just depends on where the columns are on the screen. But the button right next to that filter screen is a way for you to massage the columns. So I can click this button, and let's say that I don't care to see the cost. I could click on this, or actually hover over the three dots and just say I want to remove that column. So now cost is gone. If I'm really analyzing volume, I could click the three arrows and I could move that up. It moved it up one, or I could even grab it and drag it. I want that to be the first column. So I can move things around, get rid of things. If I hit apply, you'll watch over here on the left, the volume should magically appear in the left-hand column if all goes well. So I'm going to hit apply. And now there's volume right over there. Now remember, this is all temporary, right? So you're playing all these games. When you get all done, if I jump over to accounts or opportunities, if I come back to order history, all this is going to be gone. So you're doing some analysis, you dig in, if you get too deep here, when you leave and you come back, it's all going to be gone. I think I mentioned when I was kind of going through the agenda is if you did want to make your own views with your own columns, there's a video in the workplace video section, video 300, that'll teach you how to use this button right up here, which is to let you use this advanced find feature. And when you're all done making the columns, making the filters, making the whatever you want it to look like, you can save it. And then if you save it, that view will show up on this list. If you made a view over order history, or if you made a view over opportunities or over accounts, it'll just show up in the list of views under my views. So it looks like I've made a few here. All right. The other thing that I think I wanted to mention is how to edit more than one record at a time. So a good example there might be opportunities. And here I'm looking at my opportunities. And just for grins, I'm going to go over here and practice what I just taught you about. I'm going to sort this by estimated close date, showing me the oldest to the newest. So sure enough, I have some opportunities out there that have an estimated close date of March 1st. Well, obviously, if I didn't win these yet or lose them, it's beyond March 1st. I should update the estimated close date. Now, I could just open up each one of these, change the estimated close date, save and close, and do the next one, and do the next one, and do the next one. But what you can do, again, being very careful now, let's just say, these bottom, these three right here, I'm realizing I'm probably not going to wrap these up until maybe the end of March. So instead of doing them individually, I can just go right here on the left-hand side and just check here. I'm just clicking, and it's selecting the record. So now I've selected all three of them, and I can go in here up on top and I can hit edit. And what it'll do is it'll pull up the opportunity screen that you're familiar with all the tabs, but everything is going to be blank. And the thought here is if you enter something, then it's going to replace that value, whatever it was on these three records, with whatever I enter here. So again, I could update a lot of stuff, but again, in opportunities, they're probably unique to the opportunity. So you might only use this to bump some dates. So, well, I think I said March 31st, didn't I? So let's say that. So I say I want to change the estimated close date on these three opportunities to 3/31/22. I hit save. It's going to kind of tell you, look, I'm doing all that work for you now. I'm grabbing that first record. Oh, you wanted to change the estimated close date, change that one, change the second one, change the third one. And now here they are, 3/31/2022. All right, so that's how you can change estimated close dates or change really anything on multiple records. I would just caution you on that feature. I mean, it's great when you just need to be productive, but if you change something, oh, I really didn't mean to do that. Now you've got to go and undo a lot of stuff, right? So just use that one with caution. But there's going to be times, right? Maybe you're off a week and you come back and you see some of your estimated close dates are off. I mean, that'd be a great time to just bump them out, because we always want all of our estimated close dates to be out in the future. All right, so that was just some of the tricks and techniques I've been thinking about when I think about navigation. There's a lot more you can do with navigation, but I think we covered what I was planning on covering. So now I'm going to move into the second part of it, and I know I only have about 15 minutes here, so I might have to even go faster than I normally would. But I just want to show you just a kind of a review for some of you, but maybe there'll be one golden nugget here, but just all the information that's out in CRM, about an account. So I'm going to go to accounts. I'm going to actually go to my recently viewed here. I'm going to go to Fairview Manufacturing, because that's going to be my example. So lots of information in the system about accounts. And remember, accounts can be customers or prospects. It's a prospect until you actually win the prospect over, and they get a customer number and they get tied to your back office. So there's less information, obviously, in the system if it's a prospect, but there's a lot of information if it's a customer, especially one who's buying from you. So just kind of real quick to revisit, there's tabs across the top. We're going to go through them kind of quick, but here you see the very first tab. It's got basic information about the account. If I go to the order history tab, this is going to list the order history from most recent going backwards in time, but this is just what this customer, this account purchased from us. So here's all the order history just for this one account. The additional information tab is address information, a little description field you might want to use, some credit information, a little map here if you needed to know, where this customer was actually located. There's an amounts tab, which is optional. This would be blank if it's a prospect. But if it's tied to your back office and your leaders there decided to send these optional values over from your accounting system, these are all configurable to be whatever you want. So yours might look completely different, than my little test one. These are ones that I see kind of common, but there are many organizations that don't even use this feature, so that could be blank. This section right here, classification, categorization, I could probably spend 10 minutes just talking about this, but just know that these top two ways of grouping your customers come from your accounting system, and all the rest of these are maintained in CRM. And these over here on the right are all like configurable, whatever you want them to be for values. So these 6 options are basically option set. So you can tell us what values you want here and what you want this called, and we can adjust this in your CRM. If you have certain amounts you want to keep track of, these are just that they have nothing to do with the integration with your back office or anything. It's just you want to keep track of something. If you want some extra text fields, if you want some date fields for something, all tied to the account. Then this is a pretty powerful tab. Keep track of the contacts, the people you deal with. We also do a quick 12-month summary. So looking back 12 months, by product, showing you the product they bought the most down to the product they bought the least. And then there's also a 4-year summary screen. If you want to look back even further, assuming you have 4 years worth of data, and that is by department and month over that 4-year span, showing you volume and gross profit. So a lot of cool stuff there. Does this account have any open activities or open opportunities or open quotes? Again, you have access to all this information, all from the account screen. Now, as most of you know, if you run out of real estate, which I did here, there's more tabs. You see these 3 dots. So if I click the 3 dots, these are all the tabs that I'm missing. There's a share a wallet one. If you go up here and you enter some competitor information, then that gets stored and saved under the share a wallet tab. So you can easily track competitor information and easily see it. There's a whole tab on credit. If your credit department wanted to get into using CRM, when the credit app was received, when was it approved, if it was approved, and on and on and on. I'm not going to read every credit field here. And then the last named tab is called notes, where you can enter any note you want and you can save it. And you can also use a paper clip and attach something to your note. But there's also just below here what they call the timeline. Anytime anything happens, whether a note gets added or an activity gets completed or an opportunity gets won or lost, it just, based on when it happens, boom, it just throws it in this timeline. So you see a history of all kinds of stuff for this account. And if there's too much clutter, you can even filter it. It pulls up a list of what's all listed, and it says, okay, you have 22 notes, 19 posts, 51 activities. Maybe you only want to see the notes. So there's a little navigation trick for you. You can just say, okay, now I'm only looking at the different notes that were entered into the system for this account. Then the other one that's really important to know is after all of the name tabs, there's this section called related. And these are for all the different entities or files that could have data that is related to this account. Now, a ton of these are just out of the box that you'll never use. But you'll see this is just a list of, again, all the files. So you'll see things that we put on other tabs, but I could look at order history right here. I could look at contacts right here. But again, we don't have a tab for everything. So let's say your company uses the equipment tracking module. Well, then you would probably want to go and say, hey, does this account have any equipment? You'd go to this account equipment section under the related tab. And then it would jump and show you, does this customer have any of our tanks or hoses or whatever you put in the equipment feature. So that related entities is related is kind of a cool little button to keep an eye on from a navigation, and hey, what information is out there for an account. All right, last thing, I wanted to spend a few more minutes on reports, but last thing here up above, there's a lot of options for you, and I'm going to do this kind of quick, but there's a order history dashboard which will take your order history data and graphically display it for you, and you can look at gross profit, revenue, or units, which is volume, and you can look at year-to-date comparisons or 12-month comparisons. So there's this chart. There's also, this one wouldn't apply to this account, but there's the 360 order history dashboard, which is kind of cool. If you have accounts that have lots of ship tos, this pulls them all together, the same charts, but it's for the parent and all the ship tos combined. And then there's also a 360 main form, which shows trending by month for the parent and all the ship tos. So this is only one account, so there's trending for one account. But then under this 360 degree tab, it would give you a list of all of the ship to accounts, all the contacts, all of the things that are listed here are for the parent account and all the ship tos. So it just combines everything, all the open activities, notes, any equipment, all the order history for the parent and all the children, some of these charts that you saw earlier, again, for that whole account. I know I did that kind of quick, but it's a lot more important to know it's there. And then, with your data, obviously it'll look a little bit better. And then once we jump away from the normal form, then we add a button up here to just let you easily get back to the main form. Okay, so that's that. I wanted to wrap up with reports, and I know I got to turn it back to Chad for maybe a 1-minute wrap up. So I got about 5 minutes. So the best way that I like running reports, and what seems to be most popular, is if you go into Workplace and you go into dashboards, whatever dashboard you're looking at, there's a little arrow at the end. That's how you can see the list of them. And our dashboards all start with a number. If you go to this dashboard 97, it will build a list of all the reports you can run. So right now you see this, I can tell it's thinking now, it's looking out, and pretty soon this is going to get a little bit wider. And now I can do this drop down. And I know I listed off a lot of the reports on the PowerPoint. I might not be able to show you all of them, but as an example, if I want to run an account ranking report, I need to tell it, how do I want to rank my customers by gross profit, revenue, volume, or even profit per unit if I wanted to. So I'll just say volume. then the only other two required fields are a date range. So I don't have to worry about like doing filtering. It's all the questions are right here. So I could easily just type 1/1/2021 through 12/31/2021. And then the power of this screen is you can filter now on what, besides this time period, what else do you want? So these are all the different filters you can apply to the account data. So maybe you only want it for one particular salesperson or two people. You could just check which salespeople you want. If you only want it for a couple industries, you could check them. If you don't check anything in a box, it's gonna give you all of them. So you can also filter on the order history information. So maybe you want to rank your customers, but you only want to rank customers for fuel, because if I add or lubricants, if I add fuel in there, it totally distorts the number. So you can filter by department, by product category, by product segment, whatever you want. You start checking things, you're narrowing down the data. And then that's all you do is just say request report. And now it's going off to some report server somewhere in the cloud. And in a minute or two, you'll get an email with a report attached. So that's one report I really like. There's also just a plain old, give me some order history totals. So that's going to give me gross profit, revenue, volume for every account. And again, I can put in a date range and do all the filtering. So that one's kind of popular. If you want to see how an account did, let's say this year over last year, or 2020 versus 2021, or January of 20 versus January of 2021, or whatever, you can run this report 115, and now you have to enter two date times. So January through to December, and maybe January through December of 2021. And again, if you only cared about your accounts, a certain industry, a certain department, you can filter on that. You can also run that looks at the customer holistically, so that parent-child relationship, add them all up, and then do like one line for the whole customer. There's a sales summary report that you can run that you can even filter by like account number. So I ran this one for just one customer, and I wanted to see their numbers. You have complete control over how the data is grouped. I wanted to see it by department, and then product category and product segment. But you could run a report for one customer and just have it be by product, one line per product, and then you don't have any of these secondary ones. So you pick how you group your customer data, right? So all good stuff. And I'm not going to have time to go through all of them, so I think that I'm going to have to kind of cut it short there. But I did have a couple reports already ran, so I'm just going to kind of open one up here. So this was that account ranking report that I ran. And it's basically a list of customers. And then over here is the volume, and it's showing me my best down to my worst. So I can easily see, who my best customers are. And then what's also kind of important is what percentage did each customer contribute? And then there's a running percentage here, because some customers say they want to see like their top 80%. Well, 80% of the volume comes from these top two customers. So don't want to lose them two customers. Here's an account period comparison report. So that was that 115. The bulk of this report is right here. So basically I said compare 2020 to 2021, each customer, how they do in 2021, how did they do in 2020, and then did they go up or down? So that's kind of a cool report to analyze your accounts. Again, more access to account information. Here's that sales summary report I ran for just one account. And again, I could have ran this for my whole book of business, but I picked that Fairview Manufacturing account number, and I said, show me how they did in 2021 by department, product category, and product segment. So I can just kind of see what they did. Another one that's kind of cool that I didn't show you there, but I'll show you the output, is you can run a trending report. So I ran this by account. You could run this by product. You can run this a lot of different ways. So there's my report that just came in. So I said, run a trending report by account. So, and I picked December of 2021 as the last month. So we basically went back 13 months. And now I'm showing you, each account and how much they bought of basically everything month over month with a nice 13-month total. So now just imagine if you wanted to just analyze your book of business, you could have filtered on your sales code, your salesperson. So I only want my accounts. You could have ran this by product. So it would have showed you each product and how many products were sold, for the last 13 months or whatever time period you pick. So I like that report. The very last one, and I'm gonna stop showing you stuff because we're a little bit late, is account product last price paid. So here's where I went in and I put in a big range. Look back like the last couple years and find every scenario where it was the last time a customer bought a specific product. So this kind of tells me, first of all, when's the last time they bought it? And then how much did they pay for it? So that's just kind of nice to know. You want to put in a decent date range so you catch everybody you want to catch, but maybe you just care about like the first few months of this year. If I look at the first few months of this year, look at what everybody bought, the last time they bought it, how much did they pay? And now that you have this in Excel, right, you can filter it by product and maybe you can kind of look at some of the prices going, why is this customer paying so much less than everybody else? Oh, we missed a price increase or something. So anyway, this is kind of an interesting report, this 230 report. So I do got to kind of flip over to the PowerPoint again and kind of blow through some of these slides. Here's our enhancement and roadmap update. So we're gonna add some more features, in the future. I'm not gonna read all these to you, but there's some cool ideas that have kind of come in, and we add them to the enhancement list, and we roll out enhancements, 1 or 2 times a year. So you'll be seeing more feedback from me in the future. For future topics, a lot of people said, hey, running reports. So that's why I spent a little bit extra time on that today. But we might have to have another, and I've done a webinar, a couple on this already, but it sounds like I need to do more. Some folks wanted a navigation, about 9% wanted advanced find, and 9% wanted the mobile app navigation. So those are some future topics. For those of you who are struggling with the mobile app, there is a video, I think it's video 106 and 107 really describe the mobile app. So you can pause it and watch that. There were no questions submitted, which was great. That means you all know to call our support desk. So call or email our support desk and we'll take care of you. And then biggest challenges almost went hand in hand with, future topics. So a lot of people are new, struggling with navigation, need training, right? Reach out to your power user at your company or, LedgeView offers training. I could do a training session with some of your teams. So we're here if you need help. A lot of people didn't have a biggest challenge, which that's exciting. But again, running reports. And then what's slowly moving down the list, which is exciting, is user adoption and just plain old time. So cool things there. I mentioned earlier that if we add a new user to your system, we typically would set them up on this little email deal. So they get a couple emails every week for a few weeks, just to kind of push them to some of the features of CRM. You see, we have ebooks and all kinds of things on our website. And we do a whole lot more than just CRM, right? We do a lot with marketing and marketing to help, marketing consulting, and some folks outsource their marketing to us. We do inside sales. We also do field service, which is another CRM product. So you can just let me know if you're interested in any of this other stuff. Otherwise, that's me. And Chad, sorry I went over today, but back to you to wrap this up.
Yeah, Steve, I don't know why we don't just schedule these for a full hour and try to cram you into 45 minutes. Lots of great information. Look for the email to come through with a recording of this webinar. And based on those needs as well, and those challenges, we're going to include links to on-demand training videos that Steve has done regarding the running reports, regarding advanced find, regarding some of those other ones. So, that'll help you utilize the system more, and that's what we're looking for. So again, look for that email to come out. We are here to support you 100%, make you masters of Microsoft Dynamics 365. So we're here to help you. Have a great day and a great rest of your week. Bye.
Thanks, Chad.